So I was picking up dog poo and I thought, I wonder what the community wants for Storm Connections. So I sat at my computer and what do you know, my sensei, Poison Okami, has already made a video on it.
And the video sucks.
Okay, maybe it doesn't suck, but the list of requests is backwards. It saves the important stuff for last, putting all the trivial stuff first. It starts with things like,
bring back the old stages from the previous Naruto Storm games.
Really?
You need more than this?
So you can just hit random and not even remember what stage you played last game? Get out of here.
Another little fun one that I'd like to include is team names. So in relation to characters coming back, I'd like to see team names return. I think the last time we seen the team names was in Storm Revolution.
This makes the community look like a bunch of entitled babies, which maybe we are. But eventually the video does get to the important stuff like netcode and a functional lobby system and even gameplay mechanic adjustments. So the video isn't bad, it's just structured in a weird way. But I do think that I can offer a unique perspective here. I have a big fighting game background and I've been holding tournaments for different arena fighters for ages now. I can bring some of that outsider influence and offer some valuable feedback for the Storm community. Now, if you've followed my work before, you might be thinking,
isn't that the guy that said substitutions suck?
Yes it is, and I stand by that, damn it! But I also agree that if you remove subs, it's not really Storm anymore. And it turns out, I kinda like Storm. I don't know, I think I'm going through a weird transition period right now. So I'm not gonna ask them to make a different game. This wishlist is meant to improve the current formula, not change it altogether. So with that in mind, here's what I think Naruto Storm Connections needs to have. Let's start with a big topic, the online. Netcode has been something that we've been asking for improvements since Storm 2. And it did get better for Storm Connections, but then it just gets gradually worse over time. Or at least that's what I've heard. I never owned a PS3. I just borrowed a PS3 to play the story mode of those games, but I wasn't really grinding online matches back then. I did play a lot of online on Storm 3, Revolution, and Storm 4 because that was available for the PC and then PS4. So I played enough to know that, wow, this netcode sucks. I hope it gets better in the next game, only to be disappointed because it actually got worse. Which is why I was somewhat happy when Demon Slayer came out, because you could tell that they tried something new with the netcode. You could tell it was different, that they were trying to solve that issue. They didn't solve it, but they made an attempt, which is more than you can say from Storm 2 to Storm 4. Now, a lot of people will ask for rollback netcode because rollback worked really well for 2D fighters. The number of fighting games with bad netcode is becoming lower and lower, and the bad ones are starting to stick out in a really bad way. So rollback has saved fighting games, and we'd like to see the same for arena fighters. I haven't seen a single successful implementation of rollback netcode in an arena fighter yet. If it happened, make sure to let me know in the comments because I would love to see it. Maybe I'm just ignorant, but as far as I know, it has never happened. The closest I can think of is Rocket League. If you remove the ball and make the cars fight against each other, that's kind of an arena fighter, right? And rollback works really well in Rocket League, but I don't know if that's a good solution for arena fighters or not. We have, however, seen arena fighters with good netcode, and I really have to highlight My Hero 1's Justice here, both My Hero 1's Justice 1 and 2. They had incredible delay-based netcode, so good in fact that we could hold worldwide tournaments cross-region with very little issues. So I would say if you want to improve your arena fighter netcode without having to think about how to implement rollback netcode from scratch for the first time ever in an arena fighter, talk to Biking, see how they did it, and see if it can be applied to your game. Both 1's Justice and Storm are published by Bandai Namco. There's a line of communication right there. Do not, however, talk to Biking about the online lobbies, which is the next improvement I would like to see, and Biking's online lobbies are not great. I would love to have an actual lobby system similar to what we have in Demon Slayer custom matches right now, so we can spectate games and hold community tournaments or just play with a bunch of friends in the same room. The current system that Storm 4 has are these endless lobbies, which yes, you can spectate your friends' matches, but there are no spectator-only slots, so it feels like a weird workaround to spectate games, and there's a long waiting period in between matches. Fighting games have figured this out a long time ago, and so has CC2 with Demon Slayer, to be fair. The only problem I can see there is that Demon Slayer is a game that was paid by Sega, and Storm is a game that is paid by Bandai. So taking those lobbies from Demon Slayer into Storm might not be legal, but then again, they already used the Demon Slayer pattern and put it on the cover of this game, so at this point, who cares? The next topic has to do with the business plan, which to me is the biggest reason why you would launch a new Storm game in 2023. It's to build Storm from scratch as a service type game. Bandai Namco saw the success of Xenoverse 2 and started replicating that model with other IP of theirs. Shinobi Striker did it for Naruto, and then they did it again with Dragon Ball for Kakarot and Dragon Ball The Breakers. JoJo All-Star Battle R could have been that too if the player base wasn't leaving that game so quickly because of the bad netcode. But even then, they saw a full season pass of DLC, and there might be more in the future too. And I believe Storm Connections is their next game to follow this formula. They launch a new game and build it as a lasting product with a season pass and future updates planned. I think that's already gonna happen regardless of what I say in this video. We are gonna see a season pass with a bunch of DLC characters coming out in the future, so there's really no point in me going, I wanna see these characters. It will happen. However, I hope to see a ton of balance balance patches too, and this is not guaranteed. I hope this doesn't become the type of game where you just dump a bunch of DLC characters into with no extra content around the season pass. I hope they follow the JoJo model or the Shinobi Striker model, where every DLC drop, there's also a huge balance patch full of changes. This is important because the game will have issues. No matter how hard you try, there are way too many characters in this game for it to launch without any problems at all. So you need to update the game to plug some of those problems, but also, over time, a meta will develop. And if nothing else, to keep things fresh, you want to buff and nerf some characters to make sure you don't end up fighting against the same team over and over again. Is anyone else sick of Pain, Nagato, and Sasuke in Storm 4? Yeah, we need to avoid stuff like that. And it would also be nice to see some of that free content here and there, just like JoJo is releasing paid DLC characters but sometimes throws you a free stage or even a free character, or Shinobi Striker giving you some free birthday outfits in between DLC drops. Bottom line is, a season pass is most likely happening, but it must come with free updates as well, like balance patches and some small gifts to keep the base community happy. Heck, we can maybe even get some free stages, because we definitely don't have enough. And let's move on to gameplay mechanics, which is gonna be my last topic and probably the most controversial one. First of all, I think substitutions have to stay. For as much as I don't like the system, it is essential to Storm. Removing them would mean making a completely different game. However, I think substitutions are often the reason why things in Storm don't get fixed, and that needs to change. We got infinite combos, we got stun locks, no problem, just sub out of them, bruh. If you can just substitute out of this game's problems, then they're not seen as problems anymore. So I think we need to get rid of a lot of jank regardless of substitutions. And the jank includes bugs, obviously, which should be gone, but it also includes a lot of the stuff that I think the community just takes for granted nowadays. I'm talking about things like infinite combos, which a lot of characters out there have. Some attacks just have so much hit stun to them that you can jump and keep the combo going forever until the opponent decides to sub out. And I think we should keep the jump cancels, so you can bait subs with projectiles, or you can block an incoming dash after the opponent subs out of your combo. You can keep all of that, just don't make the combos infinite, and you can do that by adjusting the hit stun that some of these attacks have. And there's a chance that this will also fix some of the stun lock issues that the game has right now. That's point number one. Number two, I think switch tech should be gone. Not the switch tech I just showed you, that's simply just switching characters. No. What I mean is when you dash towards an opponent but you switch before dashing so your character doesn't spend any chakra, or you do the same with a jutsu or a counter. All of these options feel like a bug, but they have become a central part of Storm 4 gameplay. And personally, I think they are responsible for a lot of the jank that you can find in this game. And finally, I think you should look at some of the community tournament rules that the game has had for ages now. Because as it stands, there are a lot of banned characters and a lot of rules that are kind of hard to enforce because they are banning a playstyle rather than characters themselves. So looking at those rules and making adjustments to the base game so those don't have to be enforced would be a great thing for the community. At the very least, I would look at dash cuts. This is a type of assist that interrupts a dash. These have been banned in many different tournaments and are controversial enough to have them completely removed from the game, or at least adjusted in some way to make them not as strong, because playing lame and time wasting with these types of assists is a lot easier than without. And also, awakenings should actually be limited to once per match. This custom rule has existed in practically every Storm 4 tournament since launch. You can only awaken once per match. I think that rule is not only good for competitive play, it's also good strategically. It makes you think about when is the best time to use it, and it even makes sense lore-wise because you only fully unleash your power once per battle. And that's it. I am going to call it here. I think the game needs these changes, and honestly, they feel like the bare minimum. There are perhaps other things I would like to see, but the thing is, this game will most likely have new mechanics too. It will change. It will be somewhat different from Storm 4, and we don't know how big those changes are or how they will affect the game. So I think asking for a little bit more is getting ahead of myself because no one knows what's in store for us. I do think that with this game, we will have a much bigger focus on multiplayer because as a live service, that is where most of the player base will be. And that is completely different from what Storm has been thus far. Because if you think about the previous Storm games, they were story games first, with multiplayer being an afterthought. But I actually think for the first time since generations, multiplayer will be the star of this game. So I think this is a great opportunity for Bandai Namco and CC2 to finally improve their online service and make sure players stick with the game for a long time to come. Now, I do have some big Storm news that I want to share with you guys soon. I'm not going to say what it is right away, but just know that this video right here might be a big turning point for Storm content on this channel. You gotta watch it to find out why. But